Kathy Perkins, Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gualtieri, St. Petersburg Mayor Ken Welch, and Clearwater Mayor Bruce Rector. After they speak, we will take questions first from media in the room and then from media joining us via Zoom. For those joining us via Zoom, you will need to raise your hand to be acknowledged and unmuted to ask your question. Now I would like to invite Pinellas County Commission Chair Kathleen Peters to share a few remarks.
Hi, good afternoon, and I'm sorry to be here under these circumstances, but what I want to say to the residents, especially on the barrier islands and in the low-lying areas of Pinellas County, I know you're fatigued, I know you're tired, I know you're exhausted, but you need to take the storm seriously. This is going to be a very large storm. We believe the storm surge will be almost double what the last storm was. So what I would say to the people that have houses that are higher up, that they have the garages on the first floor and living on the second floor, there's a good chance that that water could reach that second floor. So I'm going to plead with you to evacuate, to leave, to not ride the storm out just because you think your house is high enough. There's a very good chance that there will be no water, no sewer, and most likely no power. So it would be very dangerous and not healthy for any of you to try and ride this storm out, regardless of how strong or how tall your house is, your condominium is, or if you choose to stay in a hotel near the barrier islands. I cannot express enough. After seeing the devastation on the barrier islands and losing my home as well, I cannot express enough that all of you heed the seriousness of this storm and the storm surge that's going to come with it, along with over 100-mile-an-hour winds. Please do not ride this out, especially if there's not going to be water or sewer, and there's a good chance that there will not be water, sewer, or power. Thank you so much. I don't want to take up more time. There's too much important information that needs to be shared. That's you.
Good afternoon. Kathy Perkins with the Pinellas County Emergency Management. We are currently in the path of Tropical Storm Milton, and although it's too early to tell exactly where it's going to make landfall, there's a very high chance it's going to be on the west coast of Florida. If you look at the probabilities between us and Venice, we have the highest numbers, so we have to remain very vigilant. We can expect to start to see tropical storm force winds as early as late Tuesday evening. We are currently under a flood watch, and we do expect to get hurricane watches and storm surge watches at the 5 p.m. advisory today. No matter what the exact path of the storm is, we are already going to see a lot of rain leading up to the storm and also during the storm. At this time, Pinellas County is issuing a mandatory evacuation order for long-term care health facilities, assisted living facilities, and hospitals in our evacuation zones A, B, and C. These evacuation orders are only for these facilities at this time. That includes 6 hospitals, 25 nursing homes, and 44 assisted living facilities, totaling approximately 6,600 patients. And we start that evacuation early because we know it takes time to get these very vulnerable clients out of harm's way. We will continue to have calls with the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center to evaluate what the local impacts are. They told us to plan for 10 plus feet of storm surge. And as Chair Peters said, that's almost double of what we had for Hurricane Helene. Helene was 6 to 8 feet. We're looking at 10 plus feet. So we'll have better numbers on the storm surge at the 5 p.m. advisory when they start putting out additional models. As you heard earlier today, Pinellas County schools will be closed starting on Monday. That will help facilitate the opening of shelters for when evacuation orders are issued. Life-threatening storm surge is anticipated with this storm. And just like Chair Peters said, we had people that rode out this storm on the barrier islands. Can't do that again, folks. We had so many people that we put first responders in harm's way out there trying to get you. This water is going to be higher. We're going to have very high winds associated with that. please, let's not put yourselves or them in danger. You have the opportunity today to make your preparations. If you wish to evacuate the county and go further west or north, you have today to start doing that, okay? You know, if you leave today, you can pack up the things that mean the most to you from your home, as opposed to being plucked out of the water as part of an emergency mission. Get your Go Kit ready, and we want you to stay informed. So please sign up for Alert Pinellas to get the emergency alerts and up-to-date information on the storm. And you can find out more information at disaster.pinellas.gov. The county and many cities are actively providing sandbags, and I just want to reiterate, sandbags are not going to protect you against 10-plus feet of storm surge. It does help in areas where there's rainfall flooding, and we do expect at least 5 to 8 inches of rain and 12 inches in some additional areas of the county. I saw many homes after Hurricane Helene where the storm surge was up over the door and there were sandbags on the stoop. That's not going to protect your home. We know that many people in the areas that have already been impacted are going to be impacted again. And we know that we have probably quite a few people in our areas that lost their cars during Hurricane Helene. We will be actively working with Pinellas Suncoast Transportation and the Sheriff's Office to help get people out. And we'll be communicating the need to evacuate when the time comes. If you live in an area that flooded for Helene, you should prepare for flooding again. And this time it'll be worse. And there'll be people that didn't flood because you were outside of the A zone. We do expect flooding to happen into our B and our C zones. What you can do now is consider elevating things inside your home, especially if you're outside in the B or the C zone, right? In the A zone, again, 10 foot plus of storm surge. Unless you've got a 2-story home and can elevate things really up high, I would just recommend that you pack it and take the items with you. Because now you're going to, many of you unfortunately may be filing claims with FEMA for both Helene and Milton. It is important that you take pictures of the condition of your home now. That will show the difference between how it was impacted for Helene and for Milton. I cannot stress enough for people to move their electric vehicles, golf carts, e-bikes, and other things with those lithium-ion batteries. We saw so many home fires that occurred post-storm for those batteries that were exposed to salt water. So please, move those outside of all the surge areas. If you live on higher ground, please consider what supplies you will need to shelter safely. And also, please consider welcoming in other people in the county who are being impacted. We know that right now there's probably not a hotel room to be found outside of the evacuation zones. So please, if you're an employer, work together with your colleagues, find safe places where people can go within county. Again, if you're going to go out of county, remember, this storm is going to be impacting inland counties too with winds, not with storm surge, but they're going to see the winds and they're going to see the rainfall. So pay attention to that, But again, we want to get people out of the areas where the storm surge is going to be. If you have special needs and you have not already registered, you can call the County Information Center at 727-464-4333. I can't stress enough that time is the one resource that you cannot get more of. And the more time that goes by and the longer you wait, the fewer resources there will be to be able to help you. So if you need help, reach out now. If you know somebody that needs help and you can get out there to help them, please, please do so. We are going to put as many resources as we can to get everybody's out of harm's way, but we need everybody's assistance. If you are ordered to evacuate or feel evacuation is the best option, you need to go. You have time today to make those plans and avoid the rush later on. Once a mandatory evacuation order is issued, we'll see an uptick in traffic. Right now, our priority is on preserving lives. Thank you.
So you heard a lot from Director Perkins about the numbers and storm surge and wind and what's going to happen. So I'm just going to tell you in very, very plain speak is that it's going to be bad. Okay, that's all you really need to know is you need to know that it's going to be bad and everybody just needs to get out. So I said that last time and people didn't heed those warnings, didn't heed the plea. And we ended up in a bad situation where 12 people in Pinellas County a week and a half ago died because they drowned. One was electrocuted because they didn't listen. We don't want to see anybody hurt. We certainly don't want to see deaths. But if you don't listen to the warnings and you don't take this advice that when you're in one of these mandatory evacuation zones, and we anticipate that there will be issued tomorrow at some point, mandatory evacuation order for at least A, B, and could well be into C. That's a lot of area. And it's more than half the people that live in this county, more than 500,000 people that are going to evacuate, to be required to evacuate. And I can tell you that it is sad and troubling and frustrating when we're out there as we were in Helene. And I can tell you, as I'm sitting there at the Park Boulevard Bridge, at Gulf Boulevard, and on this radio, right, is I'm hearing calls come out about people who are in addicts, people who need to be rescued, people who say they're drowning, and there's nothing we can do about it because we can't get to them. We're trying to put boats in the water, we're trying to use high water vehicles, and that thing is just squawking away. And when it passed, we had 1,500 calls like that where people said they needed help that we couldn't get to. So please, take advantage of the time you have now, today, tomorrow, into Tuesday, and just leave. And if you stay in the county, you have to get at least to what is on the map as a D, because A, B, and most likely C are going to be the subject of mandatory evacuation orders. And I can tell you, and I'm going to take a different approach than what we have in the past. What I've said in the past is that we're not going to force people to leave. And we're going to be a little bit more assertive with it this time. And for those people that are in mandatory evacuation zones, in the past, mandatory evacuation orders have been issued and bars stay open, restaurants stay open, people just going about their business in stores. That's not going to happen this time because we're going to shut you down. Because we can't have the tragedy that we had a week and a half ago. And once we shut down the islands, is people aren't getting back out there until it is over and it passes and it's clear. Manage expectations, and you need to expect that when the storm passes and we have this amount of surge again, which is going to be more than what we had with Helene, and the winds are going to be double, and all those stats and all those metrics that you've seen, you're not getting back out there right away. And there's a possibility that we may have to shut down all of the ingress and egress points in the county itself because of the amount of debris, because of traffic lights being out, because the power is going to be out, because of all these other reasons. We've had to do that in the past. It's been a while. But people need to know that they're not going to get back in right away. So it's important trying to get the message out and so people can have an understanding as to what to expect with this. But right now is the time. It's a great opportunity to get your homes as secure as you can get them and to move on and to get out of the county. We'll keep everybody updated, but I can't stress enough. I don't want to hear 1,500 calls coming over this radio where people are pleading for help and we can't get to you. So please take advantage of the opportunity you have, and can't say it any more plainly than this, just get out.
I'd now like to invite St. Petersburg Mayor Ken Welch for an update on the city's preparation efforts.
Thank you, Barb. Thanks to Chair Peters, Sheriff Gualtieri, all the state legislators who are here, Mayor Rector, and the entire county team for the work that you are doing moving us forward. This is the most impactful storm that we have faced, much stronger than Hurricane Helene, and mindful of Hurricane Charlie. we already will be rebuilding for years because of Hurricane Helene, and that will be exacerbated by the impacts of this storm. Remember, Hurricane Helene was 100 miles away from us, moving in a different direction. This is a powerful Cat 2 or Cat 3 hurricane headed directly for us, with the potential of both surge and wind impacts on our community. But given all that and the fact that we face a long rebuild, we don't have to lose any more lives in our community. We have time on our side. We've got a few days to prepare for this. We've got resources in terms of safe places for folks to go in terms of shelters. And we have knowledge. We know where the surge will go. We have the evacuation zones built on that. All we need from the community is for you to listen and respond to the call to evacuate. So please, when you hear the evacuation order, please respond to that. There will be transportation available, and we have special needs registration available as well. So please listen to the call and respond to it so that we do not lose any more lives. Now, I know in responding and recovering from Helene, there are a lot of questions about the debris that's already on the road in neighborhoods that is a danger. We've been working closely with the county, and in St. Petersburg at 3 p.m. we'll be opening up a site near the Raytheon, the former Raytheon facility, for residents and private haulers to bring the storm debris. We'll have more information about that, and that will start at 3 p.m. Today. In addition, our city will be closed tomorrow for regular business so that folks can prepare for this storm. Again, we've got the knowledge, we know how this works, it's highly survivable. Listen to the calls from your local government, from the county, from the cities. We'll get through this, we'll rebuild, but we don't have to lose another life. When you hear the call, please respond to it. Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Clearwater Mayor Bruce Rector for an update from his city.
Thank you. I want to echo first what our sheriff has said, that I personally last Wednesday night received some of those calls that our first responders were receiving. We had already pulled our resources from Clearwater Beach. There was nothing we could do to really get to people to rescue them at that point. We are not going to put first responders at risk, their families at risk, by sending them out after a certain point. And I was on the phone with folks who pleading with me to help them figure it out in the moment. And those are calls I never want to receive again. And I don't want any of our first responders to receive again. And then the next morning, I just rode with the city manager and police chief out to survey and assess the damage, the number of families walking down the street that had had the worst night of their entire lives, that were exhausted. One family with a young child, do not put yourself and your family in that spot. I can tell you those families that had to be rescued, that were on with me at the phone that night, they will get out. And I encourage everyone, for your own family safety, to evacuate. Even if you live like I do in a third floor of a condo building, it's going to be a very uncomfortable situation, even if your unit survives the damage. You may lose electricity for 2 weeks. And I can tell you from this past storm, some of our elderly population, you had a very hard time going 2 or 3 days. So I ask those who are under an evacuation order to take that seriously and evacuate in this storm for your own protection. But more importantly, we have done an unbelievable amount of work. The cooperation of the county, our city employees from all the cities in the area, state officials, thousands of workers have been out there, utility workers from Duke, working very hard to restore service and to try to return some normalcy to people's lives, but saving lives in many situations. And so I ask you not to heed the evacuation orders just for yourself. So many people have shared with me their appreciation for all of the workers that have done this work this past week, our first responders. I'm asking you to do it for them. You really want to show your appreciation to all these folks who have worked so hard this past week, who were rescuing folks the night of the last storm. Please heed these warnings for them. That's what you can do the most to help out our first responders and all of our county and city workers, who I can tell you are very professional, are very prepared, We are in outstanding hands. We are collaborating and working together. If you really want to help them get through this next storm, please heed the evacuation orders and warnings.
Thank you, and we're just now getting an update that the National Hurricane Center has upgraded Milton to a hurricane. We will go ahead and take questions from media in the room first. Again, for those of you joining us via Zoom, please raise your hand, and at the appropriate time, we will acknowledge you so you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Anyone, Channel 10?
Question for Mayor Ken Welch. With Hurricane Helene, obviously you guys took precautions to shutting down one of the utility facilities, overwhelming storage and stuff. Do you guys plan to do that again? And if so, what are you guys doing to ensure that people have utilities and they get back to their homes?
Well, given the projected track, if we are on the wrong side of the storm and we get surge above 10 feet, that will affect 2 of our plants, Southwest and the Northeast plant, and it will be the same kind of precaution, asking folks not to use the toilet, not to use laundry. So again, for folks throughout the city, we would ask folks to do your laundry now, do things that use water right now, because if we get that level of surge, it will impact not only power, but also sewer service.
And do you know how long you might expect for it to be?
So with the Northeast plant, we were able to preemptively shut the plant down to prevent that seawater intrusion, and so we were back up within 24 hours. Hopefully we could do the same thing here, but our folks will be monitoring the surge, try to shut down early so we don't have that impact, so we can restore that service as quick as possible. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else in the room? Okay, let's go to Zoom.
We have no questions on Zoom.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time this afternoon, and please be safe out there.